All right, so in this video, we're going to actually start putting the project together. So in the last video, if you recall, we created our layers, we created our keyframes, and we put a label on each of those keyframes. So now what we're going to do is we are going to add some actions. Now actions are really the engine of Adobe Animate. It's basically how the program functions. So what we're going to do is we are going to go to the window menu and we are going to open the actions window, and we are going to go back to window and we're going to grab code snippets. All right, so you're going to see, like with any Adobe program, there's heaps and heaps of windows. The easiest thing to do is to grab these windows and put them into this window bar that's already here. This one has the colors and the transform and the align tools and all that kind of cool stuff. And so this one, what we're going to do is we're going to just grab it until it gets blue and sort of hunkers in there, and now that's a little button. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with the actions window. We're going to drag that down until it goes blue and then let go, and then now the actions are here. Okay, so the reason we do this is because there's a lot of windows and we really want to make sure that we can kind of keep our workspace as clean as possible. So the code snippets are basically pieces of code that we can use to create interactivity with our project, and it's super powerful. We again are only going to just scratch the surface of this. We don't need to write any code. Everything that we need is right here in this panel. So you'll see that we have two ActionScript and HTML5 canvas. Since we're creating an app, a standalone app, we're going to use ActionScript. So if we flip that down, we will see, I just docked it, there it goes, okay. We will see actions, timeline, and so on and so forth. We are right now in the area called timeline navigation. This is basically telling the program to go to a certain frame or go back or whatever it needs to do. So the first thing that has to happen is that this program, the playback head will play. It'll just cruise down the down the timeline unless we tell it to do something. In this case here, we just want to have a stop action because we don't want it to keep going. So what will happen is if I click a button that says go to this frame here, and then there's no action, it's going to continue cruising down until it gets caught by an action. So what we want to do is we always want to stop the action at every given keyframe. So what we do is we say stop at this frame. Okay, we double click on that, and then our actions window will open up, and it says it gives us some instructions on how to use that code. In this particular case, not much to do. All we're doing is we're telling the playback head, when you hit this frame, stop and wait for some instruction. What this is kind of like a stoplight. And what will happen is that the playback head will hit a piece of code that says stop, and it stops. It didn't actually stop. It's sitting there idling. It's waiting. A video can play. You can play a slideshow. Audio can play. But the playback head itself is just hanging out. It's waiting for a green light. A green light would be like a button command that says, okay, now go to this frame. And then the playback head goes, okay, green light, I'm going on to that frame. And then when it hits that frame, it sees stop and it stops. And then we can watch another video, we can read some text, whatever. So that's the basic functionality of that. And so what we want to do is on every one of these keyframes, we want to have a snippet that says stop. And you just hit that and then go to the next frame and open up your snippets, stop at this frame. Hello? Stop at this frame, double click, there it goes. Go to the next frame, stop at this frame. And if you wanted to leave this out for now, you could, just so it doesn't keep closing. Actually, that's not the one I wanted. Let me put that back. Dock that. I have two monitors, and it kind of acts weird if you don't. There it goes. Like this here. If we want to just stop that, stop at this frame. And then that's the thing. This is why two monitors is so helpful. Okay, stop at this frame. Okay. And I'm going to put my code snippets back in my window. There we go. All right. So now we have a keyframe and a code snippet at every keyframe. Okay, then that says stop. And that's all we need to do just to get things started. So at this point, before we even start putting buttons on it and telling it what to do, it'd be a good idea to actually sort of, put some headlines in there so that we at least know where we're at. So over here in our toolbox, we have the text tool. Okay, so if I click the text tool, and you'll see that I have options now for the tool in my properties. In this case here, I have a certain typeface. I've got sizes. I've got the usual alignment issues and so on. So we've got all the typical text controls that we have in just about any other program. So I'm going to click something simple. And the neat thing about this program is that it has a little sample next to every one of these typefaces, so you sort of get an idea of what it's going to say. And I don't know which one to pick here. Why don't I pick something kind of cool, like hobo? No, let's not do hobo. How about, it looks like kind of cool. And then the neat thing about the size is you could click on it and scroll it. So now I've got a big text, okay? And I'm going to type in, actually I'm not going to do that. See what I did? What did I do? Like I said in the last video, I put it in the wrong frame. So what's important to do is not to do that, okay? So what you want to do is you want to go to the frame that you want and the layer that you want, and then you enter your text or add your graphic or whatever you need to do. So the best thing to do is to select that frame first, then select your text tool, click, and now it's in the headline where it's supposed to be, and we'll call this main menu. Once you're in a text tool in an Adobe program, the neat thing is you can hit the escape key and then the V key, which will bring you to your pointer tool, and then you can move things around without having to go back and click different buttons and so on. All right, so let's refer to that again. I'm going to just do this again. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to put my text in. I'm going to make sure that I selected the right layer and the right frame. I'm going to click to make the text box. I'm going to type in main menu, and then instead of having to click out and go to another tool, if you hit the escape key and then the V as in Victor, that will get you back to the pointer tool, and then you can move it around. Okay, so that's a cool quick keyboard command thing that is useful in any Adobe program, so better to learn it sooner than later. All right. And so now there's a couple different things we can do. On page 1, we need a title. Notice that that title is now only on the main menu page, and it's not on page 1. So there's a couple things you can do. You can either do this again. You can select the text tool, and then you can type and so on and so forth. Or you can select the title, edit copy, or Command C, click on the next keyframe, which is in the headline layer under page 1, and you edit, paste in place, and now it's a different piece of text. And then we can call this page 1. Okay, notice that we have main menu, page 1, and the neat thing is that it stays exactly in the same place, so it doesn't jump around. So we'll talk a little bit more about constructing content in a minute, but for now that's kind of a neat thing. So here, again, escape and V, copy that, click on the frame under page 2 on the headline. You can right click and you can say paste in place, and that will be page 2. Escape V. It's already in the clipboard now, we don't need to repaste it. So we click here, we right click, paste in place. This is page 3. Continue down the path on the headline layer till page 2.1. Right click, paste in place. 2.1, right? And then the last page, we click on that keyframe, right click, paste in place. 2.2. Okay. Now you might be asking, does it matter in what order these pages are in, or these keyframes? And the answer is no, it doesn't matter. They can be in any order. Now, that's not to say that it should be a completely random thing. It'd be a good idea to kind of keep a sort of a structure in mind so that you always have, your timeline has a sense of order to it. And so that might require you to think about what you want to have in each order, but it doesn't actually matter. It doesn't. Okay, so now we have our project basically set up. We have stop actions in place, and we have at least some content to tell us if we're on the right page. So just reviewing on the main menu here, we have main, right? On page 1, we have page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5. Okay, so that's essentially structuring the project. In the next video, we will talk about adding buttons.